And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and we've got a special treat today. It's all about the experience. So sit back, buckle in, and let's go.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Okay, I am here with our experience and events team. So Heather Greenwood, our director of the People Experience, a frequent guest, a guest host extraordinaire from the pod, maybe the most frequented guest host. Heather, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for doing this. Hey, would you introduce who else we've got here on the pod with us?
Sure. I'm so excited this morning to be here together as a team. So we have Emelyne Henderson, and she is our Senior Manager of Experience and Events. And new to our team, it's been a few months now, but new to the podcast today, Debbie Ortega, and Debbie is the Manager of Experience and Events.
Wonderful, wonderful. Debbie, Emelyne, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Debbie, is this your first podcast?
This is my first podcast.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. Excited.
All right. We got an inaugural podcast guest. Okay. And Emelyne, welcome back. The famous Emelyne Henderson. She kind of grew up here at the river and we love having her as well. Okay. So we're here to talk about a first time ever. We had our VIP summit in late January, and this team really helped us put it on. So Heather, this is a first time ever for us. Tell me like how you heard the news. Well, first of all, what is a VIP summit, and how did you first hear about it?
To be honest, I first heard about it probably in November, and I heard it through a rumbling in the office, and I think it might have been mentioned in an EST meeting, and so someone kind of gave me a nudge, like, hey, this might be coming your way.
Okay.
And I heard the timing, and I kind of thought, no way. And then Emelyne and I approached Stacy, and we kind of said the same thing to Stacy, like, hey, we heard a rumbling. Tell us if it's true. And so Stacy said, yes, he thought it was going to be true, but he wasn't 100% yet. And so finally, when you and Stacy connected, and then we had the opportunity to connect with you on your vision, it kind of cemented it for us that, yes, we were going to do this. I think we've always wanted to do this, proven off the success of the Sleep Summit. And so I think it was a very natural thing to come to life. And so we're excited to be a part of it.
Okay, wonderful. I'm gonna come back to you. I got a lot of questions I'm gonna try to get through.
Okay.
Emelyne, what is a VIP summit? And when you first heard about it, what was your reaction?
So our VIP Summit is an event where we bring in all of our retail memory makers, so our retail performance, retail experience, and our retail leaders to really learn about our financing programs directly from some of the best partners in the business. And so it's really a great opportunity to bring all of our memory makers together for intentional time training. From our sleep summits, which we've done podcasts on in the past, we kind of knew that this would be a great opportunity to do something different and focus on another pillar of our business for our memory makers. And personally, I just love when we get to get everyone together because I think that a lot of our memory makers learn best from each other. They also love to be in competition with each other. So there's a lot of that seen after these events. And so I think that's kind of what makes them special, is our people.
And Debbie, so you officially joined the river when?
In October of last year, 2025.
Okay, so we've had quite a few events since you joined. You're like, this VIP summit, sure, we have a gala, we have these town halls. What are you thinking when you hear about a VIP summit?
The team told me that it was something that was relatively new. We had never done this before. So for me, it was exciting, like an exciting challenge to be coming in to create something new for our memory makers and being able to have like a place in that and creating that.
Awesome. So VIP is, Emelyne, you mentioned it. It's like one of our pillars of retail. And Heather, you had said you think we had always wanted to do this, which I thought was a really interesting thread to pull there, because we've done a sleep summit for the last few years, and similar to the sleep summit, that came out of a quarterly business review with our sleep partners, and we said, well, hey, let's do this to kind of launch a new line, new product line. Now we're coming to, this actually came after a quarterly business review with Synchrony and talking about, well, we've had the success with the sleep summits. We've never done a VIP summit before. And we really need to kind of get this year off right, because some things had changed. And, we've got versatile, we've got pre-qual, we've got, underwriting changes, and we've got different financing partners. So when you heard, tell me what you heard from Stacy, like about the vision or like what we needed to do, and then about the decision to host it at Fort Mill. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. When we first sat down with Stacy, and you would have said this to us, Charlie, as well, we talk about VIP or financing as the greatest unlock to our success. And so that really rang with all three of us throughout this process. We kept looking at that one sentence in our notes about the greatest unlock to our business. And obviously, Emelyne and I have seen over the years the success of the Sleep Summit. So when you think about the power of the Sleep Summit and what it's really grown to and what it's done to our business, we sat down with Stacy and only made it natural. Financing has always been one of those things. We're good. We could be better. And if we could be better, what does that look like? How would it take our business to the next level and unlock some other things that we're going after? And so it was very natural in that conversation with Stacy. I always love sitting in a room with Stacy and just hearing him speak so passionately about his business and his love of his memory makers and his guest. And so I think it was very, very natural that we weren't surprised in that conversation. We went on to spend time with you to hear about that vision. I think it makes a lot of sense for our business. Hosting it at Fort Mill was a little bit of a wild card. Going into that meeting, I thought he was either going to laugh me out of the room or maybe he was going to go for my pitch. And Emelyne and I had talked about it before, just kind of this wild idea. We hosted Purpose 828 at Fort Mill. I would say it went off very, very smoothly. And so it just kept sitting in the back of my mind of, well, why not this? We've never done it at Fort Mill. We felt like we needed a venue change. That's something that's been on our mind and on our heart for a while now. And so we knew it would present a lot of challenges. We knew there was a lot of details that I didn't have the answer to and that we had racked our brains about. And at the time we presented it, we still didn't have the answer to. But we went into that meeting with Stacy. We presented all the reasons we thought Fort Mill was a great option. We love the ability to bring our memory makers to our corporate office, which isn't an experience they have every day. And Stacy was so welcoming to the idea. He obviously challenged us on some things and how we were going to make them work logistically, but we like a challenge. And so we landed on Fort Mill really early in the process. And I think that really helped us in a lot of our decision making creatively and logistically as we went through the process.
Yeah, that one, I'll be honest, it caught me off guard. So I think I was coming to the office one day and it was maybe over the holidays or there was a snow day or rain day or something. There wasn't a lot of people there. And the windows had the unlocking your success. So, wait, we're doing that here? Because I don't think I had been told yet. Maybe I had. I hadn't registered it. I'm not sure. And you said Purpose 828, I think you're alluding to pioneering the path, the Purpose 828 experience with the retail leaders that we did in this past August, which is a lot fewer people, right? And it was a one-day event and it was in the summer. And so now you're kind of testing the elements because you did this, we did this in January over 3 days with 6 times more people, 7 times, like hundreds of people coming in over 3 days. So Emelyne, how did you guys pull it off? And there was all kinds of logistics, from breakfast to lunch and a barista and snacks and goodies and whatnot. Like those were some really nice accoutrements and nice touches. How did you pull it off?
Yeah, I would say that it ended up being the perfect space for what we needed. Debbie and I actually went and toured a couple other locations in Charlotte, and none of them fit quite right. And so Fort Mill, with the rooms that we had and the space that we had, ended up being perfect. I would say our one challenge was trying to figure out, oh my gosh, where's everyone going to eat? Because we do have everyone eat together at lunchtime. And so we were trying to think of different ideas. We were like, well, what if we could get a tent? And what if it could be heated because it's going to be freezing cold that week? So that was one of the biggest things, was figuring out the tent and then having a lot of nerves on if it was going to be warm enough. But it ended up working pretty well. And I would say too that it doesn't happen without really, really, really great partners. So a lot of the nerves that we had were fleshed out with Tim Sales, who gave us some advice on parking and where to put the tent and how to keep everyone safe. And our loss prevention team supporting that as well. Our ops team with moving chairs and tables and everything in the building the week before. And of course, our marketing team helping to create content that helps create the environment of the space. So, and then not only our internal partners, but externally, all of the vendors that we used were just premier. Party Reflections helped us get the tent. Treetop Catering always has wonderful food. I have not, and my team can tell you, I have not stopped talking about their empanadas. So just the best partners that were able to adjust and do this for us and support us through the process.
It's so interesting. I did not know that you guys went and toured other places and landed on Fort Mill. Now, there is a cost savings to hosting it on campus. And to pull off, the way you broke up the schedule, and I want to get into that in a second, the parking was back. It was like 2019 all over again. Where when we only had one distribution center, and you'd have 200 people and trying to find a parking spot that wasn't all the way at the end. You'd have, if you got there at the wrong time, you'd have to drive around, see if someone was going on a lunch break or something. So parking was like, guys, it's 2019. Whenever we have a full crowd at the mill, I always like to kind of joke and say it's 2019 all over again. Before we kind of got a little bit more spread out. So Debbie, you got to meet everyone. What are some of your standout, meet everyone from retail who's flowing through, and then the check-in process? What logistically, what were some of the things that you think are really worth calling out? Maybe I didn't know that we were going to do that well, but that turned out really well for us.
I would say I would give a big kudos to our team for keeping an eye out on the weather for sure. I think safety, it's not that it's not on top of mind, but for this particular event, it's something that we really kept top of mind. We didn't realize that we were not only going to get hit with one storm, but potentially two storms. So I think just making sure that we had that top of mind, having those conversations daily, even hourly sometimes, not only internally, but with Stacy, and being able to communicate that to our general managers and seeing how they were able to pivot. We did have a day that we had to completely shift. So we went from being Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to being Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And just seeing how flexible they were to be able to shift those days, and seeing the enthusiasm that our memory makers had to still show up on that Friday, even though it wasn't the day that they were originally scheduled to be here for.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I'm so glad you brought that up. This fell in between two winter storms. Some years we don't get any winter storms in the Carolinas. and then sometimes maybe half the years we'll get one. And it's very rare that we get two back-to-back weekends. So that's a rarity. And then we had the largest snowstorm we've had in 22 years in the Carolinas. There was talk about, well, hey, the storms are coming, because one was a big ice storm and then the snowstorm. And should we kick it out till May? And we just talked about it. We said, well, I think during the week it's going to be okay. It's not going to come until Friday night, Saturday morning. We can get people home safely. We did 6 sessions, right? So Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday afternoon. But really, you kind of primarily, I think, you left the schedules for Wednesday, Thursday the same, and you lifted Tuesday and put those folks to Friday. And then I know kind of some people kind of went where they could go. But in spite, some folks still weren't able to make it because of the weather. So we did have some folks that were, but we recorded them all. And so we pulled that off. So also, Emelyne, I know you called out the empanadas, which I'm a big empanada fan, and the food was amazing. I did have a plate full of desserts. I did take home and enjoyed, because one day it was a really special dessert day, cakes and treats. But what was the call to also do breakfast? Because it was a hot breakfast as well as a lunch. So if you came to the morning session, you could get 2 meals out of it.
Right. We've always typically done breakfast at these events. We know that if our memory makers are coming to the early session, they're probably, depending on where they live, getting up an hour, 2 hours drive. So we want to make sure that before they go into a day of training, that they're well fed and they're well prepared to go into that. And so I know as we were thinking through logistics, originally we were like, let's do like a continental spread, bagels, fruit, all of that. And then we were like, wait, we have a tent that's heated. Like, we can easily provide hot breakfast. And it was delicious. And so I think when you're going into something like that, your brain needs that power and that energy to really focus and be intentional during your learning time. So that was a little bit of what affected our decision. We knew we could, and we knew that people would enjoy it and have what they need for a full day.
Yeah. And then whose call was the barista that we had on site?
Yes. I think we all talked about that. It was actually funny because we always, coffee is typically a morning thing. So we originally were talking about having it in the morning, but unfortunately our barista partner wasn't available. And so Debbie and I were talking, and we were like, why don't we just switch it to the afternoon? Because that's really, I think, when you need the pick-me-up is around that 1 or 2 o'clock time frame. So we had coffee in the morning with our caterer, but then the barista in the afternoon was really like saved our lives, and I think some others as well after their drives into the office. So
yeah, no doubt it was a pick-me-up. Okay, so Heather, now one of the other best practices that we leaned on, I think from 828 experience, was teaching out the content from those who do it best. And you talked about we talked about earlier about we can always get better. And the thing about this is removing variability, because we have some stores that are much better than others, or some individuals that are much better than others. And so learning from like the Montessori approach to learning from others who are your peers, talk to us about why that worked so well, and kind of why we leaned into that, and who'd you lean into for those sessions?
Yeah, I think we started this a few years ago, this concept, and we've done it over many, many years in different ways. I think back to Orange Crush, and I think about when we started to have conversations with our experts at the time, and we added it to Sleep Summit. And so we've created these peer panels, and in the peer panels, you are going to hear from people just like you, memory makers who may work in another state. They may work in another store, a big store, a little store. They may have worked here 2 months. They may have worked here 2 years. And so Stacey really helped to curate that list. And what you see in those panels is they're sharing real life experience. You first hear from your partners, and you may hear from a Synchrony. And then you go and you move to this peer panel. And to hear people like Holly White or Troy Walker share their stories and their examples. There's so much power in that. And again, from their own viewpoint, here's what I do in the store. Here's what works with my guests. Here's how I teach it back. And so to sit through several of those sessions on my own and just go through them and hear from them, there's things you can pick up from each one. And the more we've done a peer panel over the past few years, and the first time here at VIP Summit on VIP, that receives rave reviews. We continue to hear from our memory makers, and they stopped us in the hallway in Fort Mill several times and just said, hey, I want to tell you that I learned so much today from Mitch, or hey, I learned so much today from Stephanie. And so it was great for us to hear that and see it come to life, that every single one of those VIP successful memory makers, people earning that jackpot bonus, to hear from them really just carries a lot of wisdom and a lot of power for all our memory makers to take something away.
Yeah, it's interesting finding a nugget of a best practice, like during the Orange Crush tours, which is the experts panel, or at the Sleep Summit, it was just one panel. It wasn't the entire content, because a lot of the vendors were teaching it out. And then 828, where it was led by those who taught those 6 sessions, were other than the 2 keynotes, right? And so in this one, it was an infusion of our own people plus vendors partnering together to kind of do Q&A, to do best practice sharing. All right, so let's talk about the 6 sessions. These were carefully curated 6 sessions that we thought, from our users, from our people, like the content they needed or wanted to hear the most to move the business forward, to go win this year in pursuit of our goals, and also to blend in our partners. So Emelyne, can you take us through what the 6 sessions were?
Yeah, of course. So all of the 6 sessions fit into our theme, which is really unlocking your success and unlocking the power of VIP. And so through the 6 sessions, one of them was unlock buying power. So really talking through how do we get more applications through pre-qualification. And that was with Versatile. So they walked our memory makers through that. We talked about unlocking bigger tickets and the power of 60 months interest-free with Synchrony. We did unlock open lines of credit and maximizing the approval, also with Synchrony. So Synchrony did 2 sessions for us. We did unlocking secondary or near prime credit opportunity, and that was with Fortiva. We had unlock purchase power for the credit challenge, and that was with our tertiary lenders. Qualifi and Progressive joined us as well. And our 6th session was unlock the power of repeat purchases, and that one was actually led by Dana Mallory, who is our district manager for the Savage South, and she really walked us through one of our newer systems of Podium, so how to use that to communicate with your guests and get them to come back into our stores and continue to connect with us. And so on all of those wonderful sessions, we also had our peer panels, which Heather shouted out a few of them a moment ago. So each one was combined collaboration of our partners and excellent HFCs in the store to really make it a meaningful session.
Yeah, I love that that's a wide spectrum of content. You're covering all of the bases from big tickets to pre-qual, so getting the application, to repeat purchases, leaning into the tentacles of as you go downstream from near prime, and tertiary, and then really getting into the weeds of answering the how and the questions and what if they do this and that. From folks who have the answers, right, in one single moment. I had so many people come up to me and say, like at a break or the lunch, this was the best training session we've ever done. And we've done a lot of really good ones. So really 6 powerful sessions. I love that we got Podium in there because that's also another pillar, CRM, CXM, and taking Podium to the next level of how we interact with our guests. And Dana's really been a Podium champion on this. And that'll be change management for us. So to be able to do that and connect it with VIP is great. So 6 chock full content sessions. And then, this doesn't get pulled off just with, just the presenters, just the partners, just the people who volunteer, or just you 3. Debbie, who else kind of was in the supporting cast to kind of help, who you'd like to kind of recognize or cite, who kind of from the check-in, from the the setting up the tents, from maybe the caterers or whatnot. I'm sure there's a lot of people to acknowledge. Who are some of the shout outs that you'd like to recognize?
Yeah, I think it definitely took a village, and I was very happy to see how willing everybody was to support us in making this experience. I want to thank Tim Sales for connecting with us and walking us through some of our concerns for parking and making sure that he had crews in here to have the space be very clean and welcoming, a welcoming environment. Also LMP for moving furniture around for us, making sure that they were outside for traffic control and parking, and also some of our ops teams for moving all of the furniture around and making sure that it got back in place once we were done as well. To all of our vendors for just being amazing at pivoting with us and giving us no hesitation there. Marketing as well, from all of the signage, making the space look different from the way it normally looks on the day-to-day experience. All of our people, allies, for their support on the day-to-day. There were long days, but they were here and they made it fun and they created a great experience for everybody. Emelyne, Heather, anybody that I might have missed?
I have a shout out. A member of our team who is not here on the call today, but did a lot for the VIP Summit and was there every day with us is Kaylee. Kaylee is our coordinator on our team, and she was there at check-in every day helping us set up food and get everything prepared. We also did a whole day of setup where all of us, Kaylee and some people allies supported that as well. And so I just wanted to give her a shout out as well because she did a lot to put on this event.
Absolutely. She was all over the place. So the way it was orchestrated was like a well-oiled machine. And I'm so glad we were able to do it at Fort Mill. So it was indoor, outdoor. Not only were people well fed and had a lot of knowledge and well caffeinated, but you had the tent that we talked about outside that was heated. We avoided rain and snow during those 3 days. And then we used like the New River training room. We used the Tiger River room. We used one of the break rooms as a training room, 3 sessions, and then you rotate. So you're never in sitting more than 30 minutes. That was part of the key. You start as the whole group in the New River room, and then you break out into 3 different rooms with your group, and then you rotate 3 times, then there's a break, and then you rotate 3 more times. And each session is about 30, 35 minutes tops. And so it goes really, really fast, and then boom, you're done. You've gone, and then we come back to kind of do an install and takeaways and feedback, and then we're done. But I see you ladies are all wearing your shirt. Now I'm wearing for this episode this great People Allies jacket that you guys gifted me. But you all are wearing your long sleeve VIP Summit unlocking shirt. I know it's got the Unlock Your Success on the back. So what other kind of swag, Heather, did they receive other than caffeine, food, and knowledge?
I mean, what else do you need? So if you've never watched Stories from the River before and you're new here, we love swag at Broad River. So much swag, but when you're a team that kind of coordinates the swag like us, it can be challenging sometimes to think of something new. So we really leaned on our partners, and I have to tell you, Charlie, like they showed up in such a great way. The deliveries coming to Fort Mill every day. Marissa handled it like a champ at the front desk, but every single one of them had all of these great swag giveaways rolling in our door every single day, whether it be Post-it notes, whether it be microfiber cloth for your laptop, pens, notebooks. Qualifi gave the cutest little koala that was a stress ball or a stress koala. And so we put together some great swag bags. Shout out to this team as well as Carlos, Rebecca, and Kaylee for putting together 500 gift bags on Tuesday before the event started. And they were loaded. The best swag that you could possibly have given away. I think we did it at that summit. We also did our raffle. We're known for a good raffle. And so we love to give things away. And again, every single vendor partner came with some really, really awesome swag, whether it be backpacks, tumblers, half zips. We love a wearable at Broad River. And then, of course, the Summit tee. We love a t-shirt at Broad River. Even more, this team really loves a long sleeve tee. So we were really excited that it was January. We could do another long sleeve tee. And as people were getting their t-shirts at the door, they were so excited. They were trying to get a sneak peek of what was the shirt, what color was it. They were excited to wear it. And so it always feels really good when that part comes together and they get to walk away with some fun goodies as well as a great time.
So you get a shirt, you get all kinds of giveaways and swag, and then you just get to hang out with each other and come in from out of town, meet some new folks, and make some connections. And the proof will be in the pudding. We've got big goals this year. We're a company on the move, and so we're in pursuit of some big goals, and this will certainly help us. And I know some people weren't able to come, but we recorded every event, and so now this is in our learning library, our knowledge library that people can watch on demand. Were folks did any of our Spokane memory makers, were they able to fly in for this one?
We didn't have them come in person, Charlie, but they are taking part in the recordings.
Perfect. So we've got all this content on demand that we can make available, and each of the sessions was recorded. And okay, so now, Heather, what's next? Where do we go from here? We've pulled off a VIP summit on campus in between 2 winter storms, another event in January, and brought in all of our partners. Everyone made it happen. Everyone got home safely. So no issues. And now we're ready to go kind of dominate this year. What's next for this team?
Gosh, we have so many things that we're planning, and I'm excited about every single one of them. Debbie and Emelyne just presented their 2026 experience and events roadmap a few weeks ago. They actually had it back in December all set to go, but we've made some tweaks to it. And so we're really excited. When we get thinking about events, it's just those are very long and exciting meetings. And I think in some of the breaks of the VIP Summit, Emelyne and I found ourselves in some rabbit holes of like, hey, have you ever thought about this? And we went to some weird conversations, but we were able to land so many great details already about our upcoming soiree in August that we're super excited about, and some kind of behind the scenes work we're doing right now for the soiree. We're really excited because, as you know, Charlie, we've landed some details about our 2026 Memory Maker Awards Gala earlier than we ever had. And we do have something kind of brewing under the surface, and I'm not going to give it away today because we haven't even told you, Charlie. But we are kind of thinking about some new events that we want to bring forward this year. Maybe some things about being a light for 2026.
Super exciting. Super exciting. Emelyne, so as you think about, I'm sure you've read the survey feedback and the scores. I think we averaged 4.9 on a 5.0 scale and had a lot of great survey feedback. What are some of the comments or remarks that really stand out in like, ooh, that really hit home, or that really resonated?
For me, what I look at is overall experience, right? And so I think for me, doing it in this different format where we had breakout sessions and our memory makers were consistently moving and hearing about a new topic that was consistently mentioned throughout the survey. And so that was kind of the first time we've tried that format, but I think it really works for the type of learners we have. And so that stood out. And then also, I think having the peer panels really stood out. People really enjoyed that. And they took a lot away about the content, new things that they're going to try in the store. And we actually have a meeting scheduled with Stacy next week to go over some of those VIP numbers to see, you know, what has changed since the summit. Have we seen an increase in performance? And so I'm looking forward. I'm working with Mark Dooley right now to pull some of that data. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that and seeing that impact too.
Awesome. And Debbie, as you reflect back on the VIP Summit, now that it's been 2, 3, 4 weeks or so since we held it, what are some of your lasting, lingering memories that you'll take away from it or keep with you?
I think just gratitude towards this team and seeing how we were able to pull off this event as we were wrapping up and executing the largest event of Broad River with the gala. So I think just an immense amount of gratitude. I think I learned a lot from Emelyne, seeing how well she was able to manage both of those timelines along with me, that I'm new and I'm still learning. So big shout out to her for kind of holding my hand and still leading the way and making this event be able to happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, I used to think that December was like the busiest month of the year, when you have personal and professional and Christmas and holidays. And then I started thinking about all that we had in January. I'm like, there was no let up. And, from 2 town halls, 2 massive events, and a couple winter storms. But we handled it gracefully. And so, Heather, anything that you intended to say or bring up during this episode that we haven't gotten to or haven't asked you about yet?
Yeah, one of the things that we were thinking about when we were preparing for this episode and just chatting as a team is it doesn't happen with just one group. And that's really important to us, that people understand this. We love what we do, and we love that we get this responsibility, and we take it so seriously because the biggest thing to us every day is the experience that our memory makers have. And we take that just to a whole new level of seriousness, but we couldn't do it alone. And so when you asked a question about collaboration and our partners, I think that's really important to us. These things don't happen in silos. They don't happen because one group does the work. They happen because everybody shows up. Everybody works so well together. That's my favorite thing about Broad River, is just when you see people raise their hand or ask or come in on a snow day to help us set up. Every single one of those people just made it such a special day. And they don't even know, in a lot of cases, how big of impact they had. From our People Allies volunteers showing up at 6 a.m. on a really, really cold morning to help us get badges ready. All those little things that just really show up, and you may not always see them, but they're there. And then really it comes down to the details. That's what we love best, is every little detail. How can we surprise and delight? How can we create these really powerful moments for our memory makers? And so it feels good when these events are over, because you get to see it all come together in the smiles and the laughter and the survey. But throughout it, it feels just as good. Knowing what you're working on and what you're doing has such a big impact on Broad River and the communities in which we serve.
The standard has been set, and you keep looking for ways to surprise and delight with more special moments and more of life's best memories. You sound like someone who has read The Power of Moments.
Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
I've lost count.
Yeah, that's a great book. We read it in our Purpose Activation Committee a few years ago. Emelyne, any final thoughts or something that you wanted to say that I haven't asked you or that you haven't had a chance to share?
I don't think so. I think I'll mimic what Heather said. We had a lot of people that helped us make this day great. It challenged us as a team. But like Debbie said, we were able to come together, and just gratitude for this group, and for you and Stacy and believing in us. I think it was happening regardless, but you said, here you go. And we were able to run with it and make it special. So.
Well, you guys made our lives and jobs a lot easier. You lightened the load for us a lot. Stacy had a lot going on in November personally, and there's a lot going on professionally. And then this was adding one more thing of stress. And I know he had a lot of plates spinning, and to pull this off as gracefully and just deftly as we did. Kudos to you and this team. A well-orchestrated machine, but that's because there's a lot happening beneath the surface, beneath the substrate. We were pioneers last year. We pioneered a new event here, and now we're forged for more. I can't wait to see how you're going to continue to unlock more exciting experiences for us. We're forging forward together, and this has all been all about the VIP Summit from the People Experience team, from Heather, Emelyne, and Debbie. Thank you guys so much for taking some time out this morning to reflect on the VIP Summit with me. Okay, that's all we've got today for this episode of Stories from the River. Hey, we're in season 5. We're still publishing every Tuesday, the main episode, and then you can catch a spotlight on Thursday or Monday derived from the main episode. And we're changing things up a little bit, but you can still catch us on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, wherever you get your fresh podcast content. We're on video or audio. I think even Apple Podcasts are coming out with video later this year. So that's from today's episode from our guests, Heather Greenwood, Emelyne Henderson, and Debbie Ortega, her very first podcast and her first appearance here on Stories from the River, with my repeat guests here and really, really some truly special people leaders. It's all about the experience, and it's all about unlocking your success as we're forged for more here at Broad River, taking you behind the scenes on our journey to our 2030 journey as we're forged for more. Let's forge forward together. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.